What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is Detroit producer Apollo Brown. We spoke about Euphoria, Atlanta, Mr. In Between, Flatliners, The Land Before Time, Steven Spielberg's debut movie Duel, his personal top 5 movies, discovering hip-hop through DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, main source in the D.O.C., his production aesthetic, the importance of consistency in hip-hop, a handful of his projects, and the creative process behind his latest album, This Must Be the Place. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to Real Notes. I'm back recording again. It's still kind of getting used to it. I took a 2-month break, but we're back. Dylan Green, CineMasai. I got a lot of names. I do a lot of shit all around places. And we got somebody on the show today who also does a lot of shit. And I've been a fan. I've been a fan for about a decade, so this is a pretty cool one. This man's a producer extraordinaire. He's done over a dozen collab albums with like all your favorites. I'm not gonna list them all right now, but there's a ton. He's done those. He's done beat tapes. He's done compilations. He's been synced all over the place. You can hear his music in games and movies and all sorts of crazy shit. Got Apollo Brown in the building today.
Yo.
Man, his latest beat tape, This Must Be the Place, is out now via Mellow Music Group. And man, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man. Absolutely.
Nah, definitely. Before I forget, because I forgot to mention this off the record. You're a friend of my friend Jerry Barrows, and you came through the Watch Loud offices a couple times, and I think we met for the first time when you and Sky Zoo came for the Easy Truth. So so yeah, it's good to see you.
Jerry's my man. He's
man.
great guy, great dude, man. I love linking up with him.
Yeah, same, for real. He's my OG. He's taught me so much of what I know, and he's incredible. So just had to shout out Jerry one time, and good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So yeah, bro, thank you for coming through to talk to me about movies and bullshit.
That's crazy because I'm not really a movie buff, but you know, I have my favorites like everybody else, and I have certain things that I gravitate towards, man. But so this is very different for me.
Yeah, like we all got favorites. I always try to tell people this isn't really about being like a buff or an expert. It's just about like how the stuff's affected you, if it's affected you, and we just kind of move.
Work.
So first question I ask everybody who comes on here: what was the last movie or TV show you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
Oh man, strong opinion about. Okay.
It could be positive or negative.
I was gonna say it could be positive or negative. It could be like, yo, that was trash. Like, yo, that was. I hated every minute of it. You know what? Probably like something like Euphoria. Euphoria. To me it's an amazing show, and I'm not being biased because I have music in it.
Right.
Me and my wife were watching it before that. It's just an amazing show. It's a little unrealistic to me as far as like what kind of goes on in high school. I mean, we've all been there, and crazy things go on in high school, but nah, man, not that crazy. Like it's, there's no parents around anywhere ever. You know what I'm saying? When I was growing up, parents were everywhere. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't do nothing. But I love the show. The show is captivating. It kind of keeps you on edge. It makes you hate characters. It makes you love characters. You know what I'm saying? Like they do a really good job with that show to me. So I definitely have a strong opinion about that show. Atlanta was another one. This season was it was very different. I think I've been seeing like mixed reviews on Atlanta, and you got some, certain episodes that kind of grab you, and certain episodes kind of throw you for a loop. And but all in all, man, I love that show. That show, they do a good job. So those are probably the latest that I've kind of watched and had a stronger opinion on.
I feel it. I also really like Euphoria. It took me a while because like I love the visual aesthetic. I think like for I have a few issues with Sam Levinson as a person, but his whole like the visual aesthetic that he
Yeah,
puts out is just like really gorgeous. The acting's great. Of course, like
yeah,
the music's always really fun. It's just so interesting to see so many like there was one scene when Rue is dancing. No, Rue was rapping. Pox hit him up in the back of a car, and I'm just like, it's kind of crazy just to think that like, yeah, like his music really just reaches across generations, and just like
oh, without a doubt.
to see people like him and to see people like you on the show is just like like I hear a beat and I'm like, is that Apollo Brown? And like I heard Dueling Experts, Verbal Kent,
Yep.
and just like
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
it's from left to right, man. It's like across the whole spectrum when it comes to music, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's real refreshing. I think like whenever I look at a show like that or like Atlanta or like Insecure, like those three shows have incredible needle drop music cues to me.
Yeah, without a
Just like
doubt.
the curation on all three of those shows is nuts.
Yeah, I found myself looking things up, man, and shazamming music
Yeah.
when I'm watching those shows, definitely.
But since you mentioned Atlanta, and because the fourth season's about to come out, the fourth and final season, unfortunately, is about to come out. Yeah. So like you mentioned that people kind of had like mixed feelings about the third season, and I'm one of those people. I liked it
Yeah,
overall, but I thought
yeah.
so how did you feel about the one-offs that like weren't directly related to, because like a lot of
That
people
that
have a
didn't have any characters in it as far as related to Atlanta.
yeah.
Um, they were definitely different, man. It was they were episodes that made you kind of sit back and think, man, and like, wow. It like those were some of the ones that I think were that gave mixed reviews to the people.
Right.
I think they were like, some people I've seen, what is this? Why this episode? And then other people were like, yo, that episode was crazy deep. Um, I think it was I don't know, I think it was necessary. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It was they kind of threw you for a loop. You know what I'm saying? It didn't really have a lot to do with the actual characters in the show, but it gave you a little something extra, man. Kind of gave you some depth, and I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it. It's definitely different, but I didn't mind it. I love the show overall.
Yeah, I feel like some of them worked and some of them didn't. And like the general idea of it just being like, okay, so like this episode is here to like reinforce the theme of the episode that came before it.
Yeah,
I appreciate them trying to do that. And and I mean, like I said, there were a couple that I really, really liked, and a couple others that I was like, that one didn't really do it for me. It was a lot
yeah,
because like
yeah,
I
yeah.
love Donald Glover, and I'm gonna like I try to be objective, but every once in a while you just come across somebody where it's like, okay, maybe it's a little harder to be as objective as I want to be. But like there
Yeah.
were a few near the back half that I was like, we didn't need this one, we didn't need this one, but like ambition's
And then
cool.
I saw an article with Donald Glover saying something about there was a lot of black people saying that this show wasn't for them, and
I can see that.
and he was obviously combating that. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, it's a good show. There's lots of good TV out there, man. There's a lot of good series out there. Like I'm watching right now. I'm watching Mr. In Between. I'm trying to catch up on that.
How is that? I haven't seen any of it yet.
Oh man, it's great, man. I love it. I love it. I'm in the middle of season 2 right now. I kind of binge watch it at night, so I'll watch 2 or 3 episodes a night, and then or when I can, throughout the week. And it's a good show, man. It's based in Australia.
Mhm.
I think it's one of the few Australian shows that I've ever watched, but it's really good. I enjoy it, man. It's a lot of it's just you know drama and a little bit of action, a little bit of just this dude who just kind of a paid I guess they call him He's not a murderer for hire, but he's kind of like a criminal for hire. And
Right.
he goes and does certain things that he needs to do. But he's kind of a good guy though. So it's weird, man, because in his everyday life, you know, he has his daughter, he has his girlfriend, you know, he's kind of he's a good guy, he does good things, and he has good intentions. But then he has this whole other life where, you know, he takes pay for, you know, roughing up people, or going to you know, take care of somebody or whatever. And it's just a good show, man. You should definitely start watching.
Yeah, I want to tap in because I had a couple other people tell me about it, and it reminded me of you ever watched Ray Donovan before? Because it
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
reminds
It's
me of Ray
kind of
Donovan.
along those lines. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
along those lines. And you
Yeah,
know,
I'm
it's
I'm
just that
definitely into that.
whole you're conflicted because it's kind of like Dexter where you like him,
Yeah.
but he's a killer. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he's a killer for the right reasons. It's weird because it's like you like him, and I don't know, man. It's just it's that type of dynamic where you're kind of conflicted.
Right. He's an anti-hero. And like those
Yeah.
are always like, yeah, I always love stuff like that. Like what's it called? My partner and I last night we just finished watching Veep, the Julia Louis-Dreyfus HBO show where she's the vice
Okay.
president.
Okay.
And like the whole thing there is that like she's just like the most morally reprehensible person on planet Earth. Like she does like the most horrible things
Yeah.
to get her position. But like, and and it's weird because I wouldn't even call her an anti-hero. She's just like the protagonist of the show. So like you're kind of forced to see not necessarily see things from her perspective, but it's like she's the protagonist. So like you're following her story even though you hate her.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's like it's that one's a lot of fun too. We kind of binged the whole show in like 2 weeks. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
seven
Word.
seasons, and
Oh
it
damn.
was
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
it's worth
Okay.
it. It's worth it.
Yeah. Hey man. I tried to do that with there's a show called Letterkenny. I don't know.
I
Uh,
know Letterkenny.
You know Letterkenny? Okay.
Yeah.
So I have mentions in that show, somewhere in that show, and nobody can tell me where it's at. And so like Letterkenny is only for certain people. Like if
Right.
you like you know it the first episode if you're gonna love it or not. And I think either people love it or they hate it. Um but I literally started watching the show just for the fact that I have stuff in there, and but I don't know where it is. It's like 8 seasons or 9 seasons of the show. So I have to dig through this show, and I don't know if whatever I have in it, my mention is in like season 6, you know, episode 7 or something, you know. So
Right.
I'm kind of forced to watch the whole, you know, series, man. And um that's one of those things that I tried to binge watch, man. I couldn't do it, man. After a while, I kind of just got lost. And did you watch it by chance?
I have, but I haven't seen the whole thing. I got a
Okay.
lot of people who love that show, but I
It's
haven't
very
finished it.
different, man. It's one of those, like, there's certain episodes I like. If you like dry humor, you know, if you like
Yep.
really dry humor and sarcasm, which I like, you know, that show would be good for you. You know what I'm saying? And but there's certain episodes that I'm just like, oh my God, man, I fall asleep to it a lot. But again, I have a whole purpose. I'm trying to find these mentions, these Apollo Brown mentions in there. And um, you know, but anyway, um, you know, I really like shows like Vice Principals and
Yeah.
um Eastbound and Down, and you know, let's see, the Royal Gemstones,
I
stuff
was about
like
to
that,
ask if you
man.
like the Gemstones. I love the Righteous
Yeah,
Gemstones. So good.
yeah, you know, shows like that, series like that, those are always good. Um, I like to laugh a lot, man. So,
Yeah.
you know, I like to watch a lot of comedy stuff. But, you know, I love my action, man. You know, and I like dramas. I like it all, man. But I never have the time to really sit down and watch a 2 hour movie. You know, I
I feel
do.
it.
You know, me and my wife will sit down or whatever, and but I'm always busy to where I have to kind of, you know, watch it in parts, man. Watch movies in parts. You know, okay, I'll watch 30 minutes here, and then I gotta go. Then I'll come back and continue, and that's never fun, man. When you gotta, you know, you gotta compartmentalize a movie. So,
Yeah.
you know. Same with shows, man. We're like big like 90 Day Fiance, stuff like that, man. And
Yeah,
we'll sit and watch HGTV all night, man, every night, trying to get ideas and stuff. And
right.
um, just super old people stuff, man. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we sitting here watching this? I
Hey
don't know.
man,
Oh man.
it's low investment, like you don't always have time to watch a movie or like invest yourself in a season long story. And it's like it's nice. It's
True.
it's nice
True.
to have stuff like that. It's nice to have stuff where you can just like pop in and like watch 3 episodes and be comfortable with it and then just like move on.
Yeah.
Like if you have
Yeah.
time to devote to something, that's always great too.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
you know,
without a doubt, man. So I find myself just like music, like watching tried and true movies that I've already seen a billion times and then watch it
right.
again because I love it. And I know that I'm going to love it because I've always loved it. So same with music, I always find myself
Right.
watching or listening to, you know, let's say Illmatic or something like, stuff that I know is tried and true that I love. And I'm gonna just keep listening to that album. Like,
Yeah.
um, like certain movies I love that I continue to listen or watch. It's just how I am.
Totally. Yeah. So, like, let's dig into that a little more. Like, what's the first time you can remember seeing a movie? Like, it could be at the theater, it could be at your cousin's house, it could
Um,
be
you know
wherever.
what? The first movie I ever seen at the theater, I think I was. It was funny, man, because I might have been 10 or 9 or something like that, and it was Flatliners. That
Wow.
was the first movie I seen at a theater, man, and I went with my best friend at the time, his mom and her friend. So I, I'm assuming that we just didn't have a sitter, and she was like, "All right, well, I want to go see this movie. You guys just got to come with me," type thing. Because why would you take a 9-year-old or whatever to go watch Flatliners, man? That's not really. But that was the first movie I ever seen, in the theater, man. That was crazy. I'm trying to think what year was Flatliners. I'll tell you. Hold on, let me see. Flatliners. Flatliners. 1990. Yeah, so I was 10.
Yeah.
Yep, I was 10, man. And so that was the first movie I seen, in the theater. That was the first movie I really remember watching. I couldn't tell you much about it, but that was that. I just remember watching that movie, man, and it was crazy as a 10-year-old.
Yeah, it's a wild movie at any age, just like the whole, like for anybody not familiar, like the whole concept of Flatliners is about these, like it's about these kids who like they for lack of a better term, they kill themselves a bunch and
Yeah, they take
like
themselves to this edge of like death, and then try to bring each other back.
yeah.
It's like what? Like, come on, man.
And the only reason I remember is because they either did like a remake or a sequel that dropped in 2017, and I
They
saw
did. Yep,
that, and
I
then
remember that. Okay.
and then I watched the original too, and or maybe I had seen the original before, maybe I did, but either way, like just like really really bizarre wild concept, and like the original movie is really cool. The new one wasn't that great, but like the original one was cool. It's
Yeah,
it's
with like
a
what was it, David Bacon?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that was my earliest memories of movies right there.
Wow.
And that's crazy because I was 10,
Right.
Now by the time you're 10, you've watched countless movies. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? My kids have watched so many movies. My son's 13, my daughter's 7, but they've watched so many different movies. But and not just like cartoon movies, like actual movies. But I
Right.
feel like movies for kids weren't really abundant back then. It was like Land Before Time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
And like the
that was
occasional Disney movie.
the
Yeah.
occasional movie. You know what I'm saying? And that was it, man. And so you didn't really have kids movies. You had like Dennis the Menace and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I think Home Alone came out back then, the
Hmm.
original, like certain movies that were okay for kids, but there wasn't an abundance of them like there are today.
Yeah, not really. Definitely. Yeah, yeah. Like like the animated ones at that time were like those were like if an animated movie was coming out, it was like a big thing. It was like, oh, like
Yeah.
the new Disney movie's out. Let's
Yeah,
go
like
see
when
it. You know,
Land
like
Before Time came out, like that was huge at the time. It was like,
yeah,
what is this? This is, and that came out around that time as well, man. And it was like
right.
that was before they really got into, you know, amazing, animation and including like CGI with the animation and all this other crazy stuff, man.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it was just basically, a moving book. So
Yeah. Like a lot of people like to talk about how like the death of Optimus Prime in that first Transformers movie was like a pivotal moment for people's childhood. For me it was Littlefoot's mom dying at the beginning of The Land Before Time.
there
Like
you go. Yeah, 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 yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah, or it's we were stuck watching Bambi or something like that, man. It was just like,
Right.
come on, man. Yeah, yeah, that was my first memory of movies, man.
That's wild. So as you grow older and you start to have more experiences and you kind of build a roster of movies that you can that are kind of like comfort movies for you, like you were talking about before. What was the movie that kind of made you fall in love with movies? Like not even necessarily in like an artful sense, but just like in like that comfort sense of like this really touches me in a way beyond just being entertaining.
You know, movies that really like moved me, and it was, we're talking early 90s, so like movies like Boys in the Hood.
Classic.
Your traditional urban, story, whatever you want to call it. But like Boys in the Hood, like, movies like Menace to Society,
Hmm.
um, South Central,
Yeah. OG Bobby Johnson. Yeah.
obviously, yeah, OG Bobby Johnson. Yeah, yeah, yeah. New Jack City, Juice, all these movies that were just urban centric, man, and um, you know, telling their story from their specific region of the United States, and where, it was just like these movies blew my mind. These were the movies that just like I gravitated towards. I think I saw when Menace came out, I think I saw it 6 times in the theater. I just kept going back.
Jeez.
And this was also around the time where you have to pick and choose your day and time to go see these movies, because if you went on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock, there was something bound to happen. You know what I'm saying? There was fights,
Yeah.
there was shootings, there was all kinds of crazy shit going on. And it was like, all right, so I'm gonna go see Menace Society in a matinee, a 1 o'clock matinee, man, where it's nice and safe, man. But yeah, stuff like that, man, is just I really gravitated towards it at the time. And then there was always movies that came on TV. It'd be a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon or whatever, and you're sitting there chilling, and these certain movies would always come on, man, and you'd always catch them. And one of those movies that I fell in love with during that time and became one of my top 5 movies was Big Trouble in Little China.
Man,
That
what a
movie
classic. Damn.
is top 5 movie for me. I love that movie. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I mean, what can you say, man? Jack Burton, come on, man, like
Hmm.
amazing, man. And the Three Storms, that blew my mind, man. It's like, what? These dudes, man, these dudes is just like one shooting lightning, man. One is, it just, and then you got Lopan.
Yeah.
Lopan was nuts, man. It was like
Yeah.
the whole cast, man. That whole movie was great, man. And Jack Burton, man, he was just this cocky, crazy dude that was just, he was kind of corny, man, and he thought he was tougher than he was, and he just didn't know, the underground. Yo, that movie was crazy. The movie was dope,
Yeah.
man.
That movie is so good. Like it's just like the whole
So I caught
idea.
myself watching it all the time. Every time it came on, I caught myself watching it, man. It would I swear it would come on every week, man. And I've probably seen that movie 300 times, man. Like, it's just a great movie.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's just like that's one of the earliest examples of a movie I could think of where they were really playing with like the you know, like on top of it just like being really funny and really entertaining, just like on its own merits, like just the whole like just like Jack Burton being just like this white dude who fails up, and like
Yeah.
Lopan being the real
Yeah,
hero
yeah,
of the movie, you know, like just like that was one
yeah,
of the
man.
earliest examples of a movie where I was like, oh, like they're making fun of this guy, you know, like I
Yeah.
recognized that pretty early on, and
And
I
then
was
it
like,
was
this is
like funny
cool.
without supposed to be. I don't think it was supposed to be funny.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah, yeah.
saying?
In a
Like there
lot of ways
was,
it wasn't.
yeah, there was certain parts that were supposed to be serious, and I think it just ended up being comedic. Like it was like, yo, this dude is hilarious, man, with the shit that he's doing and the stuff that he's like. I'm like, what are you? I don't know, man. It's just a great movie, man. Great movie.
Yeah.
Had a great aura about it. It was one of those movies that whenever it was on, I was always gravitated. I always gravitated towards it. I was like, oh, I could be walking out the room and it'll come on after a commercial while I'm walking out the room, and I'm like, oh, and then I'll just stand there and watch it,
Yeah.
and then I might even come back in the room and sit down and just continue to watch, man. And that's from beginning to end. There was always something going on, man. There was never a dry or dull moment that was like, all right, I could leave the room. No, I gotta stay here and watch this movie.
Yeah.
Top
Nah.
five, top five movie,
So
easy,
good.
easy. And I
So
think
good. So much fun. Yeah.
three of my top five movies were like that. They were the movies that came on TV all the time, and it was almost like I don't want to say a brainwash. It wasn't really a brainwash. It was just more of a I gravitated towards these movies, and I watched them and I watched them and I fell in love with them, and they just became movies that if I had to, if I was trapped on a desert island with a TV and a DVD player, these are the movies that I would watch. These are the movies that I would bring with me. You know what I'm saying? So that's they're those movies. I don't know, man.
So before we move on, what were the other two?
Oh, well, my favorite movie of all time is The Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my industry, it's very cliche. It's
Hey, man.
very, especially, East Coast, New York, everybody loves the Warriors. It's the Warriors, but the Warriors is just something that, again, I was introduced to the Warriors just by it being on TV, just by it, something that it came on, and I'm like, what is this? And then I started to learn the plot and really loved how, I mean, that plot, the whole plot of the movie was just, it just made sense to me. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. You have this gang in a city filled with all kinds of just smaller gangs that are just all over the city, and they're on one side of the city, and they got to make it back. They got to make it back home with a bounty on their head.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, this makes sense to me. How are they going to get back? Now I want to watch this. How is this going to happen? In every little borough or every little area of the city that they walk through, they're running into another gang that wants to eliminate them.
Yeah.
And it's like, they got to get away. Damn, they got away. Cool. But now they got to go through another neighborhood with another gang. And it's just like, it's just a great movie, man. The characters are great. Everything about that movie to me it's top notch. I mean, for me, I know other people be like, they'll pick that movie apart, but I'm not deep enough to where I pick movies apart. Like I come into a movie and I take it for what it is, man. Like I don't say, oh man, like let's just say watching the new Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I didn't go see the new Mortal Kombat thinking that it was going to be amazing acting, and what I'm saying, I didn't watch it for that. I didn't watch it for this incredible plot with these amazing actors thinking that they're going to get Academy Awards, and I'm like, no.
Right.
I'm watching this movie for a specific reason, and I got that.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I got what I came for. Then I've seen other people pick it apart and like, oh man, but the acting was horrible and this, and yeah, you knew that coming into it though. Like you knew that this wasn't going to be, come on, this isn't Saving Private Ryan. Like this is not, you're not going to get that from this.
Yeah.
I that's the same with Warriors, man. It's like you kind of get what you come for, and if you know about it, yeah, the acting's not the greatest, and maybe even the plot's not the greatest or whatever. Maybe it's predictable. I don't know, but the entertainment value is there. Everything is there that I need. So yeah,
Right. And that's what matters. You come to a movie like The Warriors to see a bunch of dudes in leather vests and clown makeup beat each other up on subways. And you come to a
absolutely,
movie for Mortal Kombat. You come to a movie like Mortal Kombat to see Sub-Zero freeze Jax's arms off and explode them into fleshy
exactly,
bits,
exactly.
like, and
Yeah,
I got that and I was cool
yeah,
with that too. I feel you.
yeah, yeah. No, and and I think the actually 4 out of my 5
Mm,
are TV movies that I fell in love with watching on TV. And because I'll say the other one would be like Death Wish. I love the Death Wish series, but
mhm,
Death Wish 3 was probably my favorite one. And that's the one where he took on the gang. He took on the gang called the Street Punks.
mhm.
And I mean, the name of the gang is called, they're Street Punks. So it's like, that's the name of the gang, the
Yeah, it's
Street
the most
Punks.
basic shit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's like, that's an adjective. That's not even like, that's how you
yeah.
describe somebody. Oh, you street punk. But the name of their gang was the Street Punks, man. But you know, Paul Kersey was a beast, man. You know what I'm saying? He, vigilante and all about vigilante justice. And you got this group of this gang who is terrorizing this neighborhood, or if you want to call it that, but terrorizing these streets and these people in this building and multiple buildings, but this one building in particular, they're terrorizing everybody that lives there. And you know, Paul Kersey is, well, his friend calls him in. He comes and starts living there, and then saves the day, man. Like, he's that guy. And vigilante justice, man. I'm all about it when in the movies. Um, so yeah, Death Wish is the shit. And then my last one would be so it's a movie. A lot of people don't know about this movie, but it's a movie called Duel. So
Mhm,
it's a movie that really the whole movie takes place on the highway. And it's about this dude who he's a salesman or something like that. And he's coming back from a sales trip and he's on the highway. And then all of a sudden, this creepy ass like semi tanker starts messing with him on the highway and starts following him. And he's trying to get away from him. And he keeps following him and trying to run him off the road. And he's like, "What the hell, man? What's going on? I didn't do anything to this guy. Whatever. He just keeps trying to run me off the road." And so the whole movie, he's running from this tanker, and this tanker is crazy. It's spooky looking. You can't see the driver, but he's literally trying to murder him on the highway with his semi truck. Dog, it's just like crazy movie. Not much dialogue. Dennis Weaver is who it stars. But it's literally takes place on the highway 90% of the movie.
ugh.
And there's probably a total of 100 words said in the movie, but you get it, by watching it. You're like clued in, like, oh shit, this is okay. Like, all right. And then, he stops at a rest stop or like this like diner joint on the side of the highway. And he goes in to have some food, and then all of a sudden he looks out the window, and the tanker that was behind him, because he thought he lost him, and the tanker that was behind him is in the driveway now, or in the parking lot, and he's like, "Oh shit, the dude's here!" So now he's watching everybody in the restaurant trying to figure out who the driver is. So then it's just like this whole like, I guess it's a thriller, but not really, because no one gets killed. It's just he's just terrorizing him. He's terrorizing him on the highway, man. But anyway, that was like the movie came out in like 1971. So
Mhm.
it's an old movie, and it always came on TV, and it was one of those movies I fell in love with. It's crazy. So yeah, man, that was those were the 4 movies they're in my top 5, but I fell in love with them because they were just movies that came on TV. Never
Right.
went to the theaters to see them, obviously, because the Warriors was what, 79? Duel was 71.
Yeah.
A Big Trouble in Little China was like 1986 or something like that. I was 6 years old. And then Death Wish was like 1985. Death Wish 3. So these are all old movies. but they're movies that if they were on TV right now, I would interrupt this interview and go watch them. You know what I'm saying? Like those
Yeah.
movies that I'm gonna stop doing whatever it is I'm doing, man, and I'm gonna watch them because they're on TV, and I don't want to miss them, even though I've seen them 100 times. It's one of those movies I gravitate towards, man. I have albums like that I gravitate towards, and so when you it's the same with movies.
Right. Nah, I
Oh,
totally
man.
get it. Before we move on to music, because I want to touch on the stuff that you grew up on with music, but like I love like simple premises, because like I've never heard a Duel before, but that sounds a lot like something like Speed, you know, like everybody's seen Speed.
Here, hold on, let me
And like
you gotta
I got him digging through his cabinet right now. Y'all can't see it, but
this movie right here.
okay. Yeah, no, I've never heard of that before. I'm gonna have to go find that.
Yeah, man, this is it right here. I love it so much. I had to, buy it when it was on. I still have all my DVDs and stuff.
Yeah, same. I got all mine too.
But it's literally this.
Sorry.
This is it's a Steven Spielberg film.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Yeah, that's
yeah.
Wow.
See, it's
never heard of it. Wow.
Or filmed by Steven Spielberg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I saw the film
man,
by.
It's
I couldn't.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just called Duel, man. Not The Duel or not whatever. It's just Duel, man. It's just. But a lot of people, if I talk to people about that movie, no one's ever heard of it. No one knows what it is. They don't know what I'm talking about. They're like, yo, I've never seen that. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what is this?
Right.
But when you put it on and watch it, man, it's captivating. You want to follow it. You're like, yo, this is crazy. Because then you're thinking about, what if this happened to me? What if I'm on I'm on the expressway or on the highway, and then just this semi truck, this crazy, creepy, rusty, beat up semi truck just starts messing with me on the highway, man. And every time I speed up, it speeds up too. And every time I turn a corner or get off at the exit, it gets off with me. It's just like, and then you think you lost it. You think, oh, I'm cool. I'm in the clear. It appears again. And you're like, yo, what is going on? Like, this is crazy. That's what happens to my man. And so you got to watch it, dog. This is dope.
That's hard. No. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna definitely find it. It was like it's kind of sort of similar, but not really. The new Michael Bay movie Ambulance is kind of sort of like that.
Okay.
But that was fun. Or yeah. Nah, that was fun.
Okay.
But I love stuff like that. So you just put me on. So thank you.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt.
So let's hop over to music. So like, when did you first fall in love with music, and like when did that really first start to like connect with you on that level?
Man, I'm like, I've always, music has always been a background thing, in my household, or
right.
My parents aren't musical, they don't play instruments or sing in bands, or we didn't grow up singing in the church or anything like that everybody else always says. No, they weren't really, but they would play their music, what I'm saying, when they're, cleaning the house, or we're having a little get together or something like that. And I always said that I grew up listening to two different versions of Summer Breeze, because I have my dad is black, my mom is white. So on one day I would hear the Isley Brothers. Oh yeah? Yeah. On one day I would hear the Isley Brothers version of Summer Breeze. But then on another day I would hear the Seals and Crofts version of Summer Breeze. You know what I'm saying? It's so I kind of grew up in that type of household where, I would hear, the Carpenters and the Mamas and the Papas and Journey. And then on this note, I would hear Marvin Gaye or, the Temptations. It's like, so music's always been around. But like I said, it was just back here. It wasn't anything that I focused on, or until I started getting into hip hop, man. And I think my first album I ever owned, my first tape that I ever owned was He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper by
classic.
DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. And I think that was 1988, I want to say. So, when Parents Just Don't Understand came out, and, Nightmare on My Street came out, and that was like when I started falling in love with that music, and I mean, the first hip hop joint I've ever, ever listened to was Sugar Hill, Sugar Hill Gang. So my dad
Yeah.
had that down in the basement. He would show it to me. But other than that, it was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince when they came out with that album. And then my second album of all time, or my second album I ever had, was way on the opposite end of the spectrum, was the D.O.C.
Wow.
No One Can Do It Better.
That's a
And so I
jump.
had those two albums.
That's a jump.
Those were my two tapes that I had. I had those two tapes. I had the D.O.C. and I had DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. And we're talking like, this doesn't even make any sense. These are two opposite ends of the spectrum, two opposite ends of the United States, two type of, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, but my mind, I loved both of them, equally. Like I would listen to both, like, yo, these are, and for a long time I had those two tapes and I would bounce back and forth. But I think it wasn't until Main Source came out with Breaking Atoms. That's kind of when, when Looking at the Front Door came out, and Live at the Barbecue,
of course, yeah,
and Friendly Game of Baseball, like though when that came out, it was like, this is what I love. This is the music I love. This is hip hop. This is what I want to listen to. Not necessarily yet what I want to do, but this is what I want in my headphones at all times, man. This is what I want.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, I started to just kind of pick apart the music. Like I was saying, how people do with movies, like that's how I did with music. It was, I would listen to different parts of the music. I would listen to, oh man, this part right here, and just keep listening to that single part. And then I would rewind it, pick a whole nother part, like a snare or a drum or a piece of the music, and just kind of focus on it. And I couldn't just listen to music and love it for what it was as a whole. I had to kind of dissect it. And I don't know, that's just when I knew I just really, instead of just being a listener, I wanted to be a participant, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I think I was 16 when I started actually trying to make beats. That was when I started, trying to figure it out, man, and get it going. So that was 1996. And that was right in the mix, like right in the, what I would call like the best 5 years of hip hop was like 91 to 96 to me. That was like, that's my golden years, and so that was kind of like right in there. It was like all this great music was coming out. All this stuff was just like, blowing my mind. And I wanted to be a part of it, man. I didn't know how, but I wanted to be a part of it. And so I started dabbling, man, trying to make beats.
And wow, yeah, that's a wild story to go from Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince to the D.O.C. to Breaking Atoms, and then just like make it there. And like before we move on, like you mentioned Parents Just Don't Understand, and I because like that's not one of the earliest rap memories I have, but like I remember they made another version. They remade Parents Just Don't Understand with Lil Romeo for the Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius movie. And I remember hearing that
really?
for the first, it wasn't good. I remember hearing that for the first time. And
I can't even imagine.
I played it on the radio and my dad was like, this is a remake, right? And I'm like, no, like I'm like 9-10 years old. I'm like, no, what do you mean? And he played me the original and I was like, oh, like Will Smith made this? Cause like I'm a kid, I've seen Men in Black and Wild Wild West and all that stuff. Yeah. So like I mostly know, like I knew that Will Smith was a rapper, but like I knew.
Oh, so you came up in the age where Will Smith was mainly an actor.
Right. He was like Independence Day had already happened. He was already out of here.
Yeah.
So like
I came up obviously when it was, they weren't even talking about this was before the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air came out. You know what I'm saying? This is back when they were just DJ and rapper, man. That was it. And it was, and he was a good rapper.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Rapper, DJ Jazzy Jeff is one of the best DJs of all time. So that was the times, man. And they were safe. You know what I'm saying? That was the thing. They were safe because parents would buy their records for their kids because they were a safe, an item on the shelf, man. They were safe. So not no cussing or N
Right.
words or anything like that. It was safe material. So, and then you had stuff like Parents Just Don't Understand, where it was just kind of, it was playful, it was kiddie, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of, they're saying just what I feel, and
Yeah.
relatable music at the time. And yeah, man. Yeah, no, that was great times. It was a great album too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was listening to it again recently, and yeah, nah, like he's the DJ, I'm the rapper is a really solid project, and like
Absolutely.
definitely like you could see why it was the first rap album to win a Grammy, and then you could see why Will and Jeff didn't show up to win it because protests and because
Yeah.
solidarity. But yeah,
Yep.
like shout out to them for that.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so before we move on to your music specifically, I have one more like music and film related question. So like was there ever a period of time, like as you grow up and you're kind of taking in all this different music and all these different movies, that like was there ever a time when you consciously linked film and music together in your head, like as like two things that can complement each other, like even if it's just like, oh, like this song on a soundtrack complements this part of a movie, like it doesn't have to be exactly that, but like something about the two of
No,
them.
well, so obviously the music, the score just kind of it kind of moves and tells you how to feel at a certain time. So it kind of tells you,
Mm-hmm.
this person did something right here. All right. So this music's going to tell you how to feel. If this music wasn't here, who knows if you'll feel the same or not. I really caught
That's
that, or lack thereof, on No Country for Old Men.
ah man, thank you. Yeah.
So No Country for Old Men, a lot of people don't realize, they're like, man, something's missing. There's no score. There's zero music throughout the whole movie. Zero score. And a lot of people don't realize it. They know something's missing. They know it feels different. And they're like, man, what is going on? But they don't realize, like, there's not a single bit of music through that whole movie. So there's
Yeah.
nothing to tell you how to feel about this certain moment. There's nothing that kind of sways your emotions, when he does this or she does that, or there's nothing. It's really up to you and to determine how you feel about what just happened. Music sways your emotions. When the music's not there, all right, so now it's up to me. Do I feel a certain way about what just happened, or it's like, oh shit, or it was like, did that bother me? Maybe it didn't. I don't know, but so that was the first movie that really made me I don't want to say appreciate the score, because it was great without a score. It made me just really notice scoring and what it does to a movie. I think there was a guy out there who said, and I don't know if he did it, but he said he was going to try to score that film just to see what it would be like if there was music, or if there was a scoring track throughout the film. I don't think he ever did, and this was years ago when he said he was going to try to do it. And he was a professional, musician who scored films and stuff like that. He was going to do it
Yeah.
just as a just to kind of play around, just see what it would sound like, his little version. But I don't know if he ever did it or not. I can't remember his name or anything about that. But that was the first movie that really just kind of made me think about the importance of a score, or not having a score, and what it's trying to do to the listener and the person watching, the
Right.
emotions, and so that's, and I know that's more of a more modern movie, but when I first saw it, I was like, holy shit, like, what's going on here? This is crazy. I've never seen
Yeah.
this before. I've never seen a movie without a score. I've never seen a movie without music trying to determine my emotions and feelings. Like, this is
Mhm.
crazy. So
Man,
yeah.
that's a good choice. And like I didn't realize that until like really recently. I actually had somebody on earlier this season, my man Brain Orchestra. Shout out to Brain Orchestra. He brought that up too. And he
Oh,
told
word.
me that, and I told him like, wait a minute, like I thought about it and I was like, that movie didn't have a score. So like that's
Oh,
like so like I just realized that like this year, low
that's
key.
crazy. That's
So like
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
But you
yeah,
were
like
you were left to feel how you would normally feel if you saw that, or saw a certain instance. It was left up to you and
right,
your emotions. You didn't
exactly.
have any music steering those emotions. You didn't have a score telling you how to feel.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
it
respect
was
that,
dope.
I respect that. So you already met you already kind of outlined your journey to becoming just a list just going from just being a listener to being a participant in rap, like you said. And like you said you started making beats when you were about 16 years old,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And you kind of establish a style and start pushing forward. And one thing that I've learned about you through reading various interviews is that I don't know if this is true anymore, but at one point you had a very specific setup with like your beats, like with the software and the equipment and like a specific pair of speakers that you would never ever get rid of. Is
Yeah, no,
that
I got. Needless to say, I got rid of them a long time ago. But
okay? I thought
no,
so.
well, because I had to evolve a little bit,
Right.
man. It was like, all right, but no, they were some Philips, So I had a dorm room stereo, is what we used to call them, back in college, man. And it's just one of them stereos you buy from Best Buy or wherever, that
Yeah.
had the long wires to the little speaker. You could take the speaker and kind of slide it into the main unit and hook it up and make it look like a boom box. Or you can unwrap the long cable wire and have your speaker way over here and this speaker way over here. And then the main, unit's going to be in the middle. And anyway, yeah, for a long time, man, I made beats through that. If it had an RCA cable or RCA input or out input, I can easily make beats through it. I was good, man, and I did that for a long time, and I had 2 sets of those speakers, and it was just more about, and they were blown too. They were really bad, so if I turned it up, they just crackle,
Right.
but it just kind of came down to knowing how to manipulate sound on those specific speakers, even though they were blown and they were not really made for that. I knew how to make my early albums were all made on them speakers. Like,
Right.
I think the last album I made on those speakers was probably maybe let's see, I made Clouds on the speakers, I made
Wow.
Trophies, I made Dice Game. I think the last album I made on those speakers is one of the Ugly Heroes albums. I think the first Ugly Heroes
Wow.
album. But after that, I ended up getting some JBL monitors, and then I just kept upping it from there. And now I work on 3 different sets of monitors, and it's just a little more updated, a little better. I think I think it was necessary, and I'm not big on change. I don't like change. So learning the sound of new speakers and new monitors and trying to, manipulate the sound so I know it sounds good on an album or at a show or whatever, and learning how to do all that new stuff. I hated it. But it was necessary. It was something I had to do. So I
Right.
did it. Upgraded.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I saw yeah, because I was watching your Rhythm Roulette episode, the one on the Mass Appeal thing you did, and just like that setup, I was just like, wow, like the fact that you made an album that sounds as beautiful as Clouds on a system like that is
Yeah.
like because like Clouds is like what Clouds is so pretty, it's so elegant, it's so like so many things. It's just
Appreciate
like
it.
it's just like seeing that is just like it's like it's just amazing the stuff that like because like it's all about familiarity and just like this system, so you're kind of working with that system. Like I get
That's what
it,
it is. Yeah.
like I have like as like a writer and as like like at one point I've made music when I was like much younger, but like we all just have these like very like these familiar things that we don't want to let go of, even if it's
Yeah.
not
No,
like the
I
most
agree.
like it's like I get it, I completely understand.
I agree, man. Everybody has their thing, man. Everybody has something that they just, like you said, that you can't really let go of, man. It's a part of your routine. It's a part of how do you make your music or whatever you're doing.
Right.
And it is what it is. Everyone has that in their arsenal.
Totally. And like and I'm actually happy you brought that up because like as a like one of the big reasons I wanted to have you on the show is because like to me you have like very like auteur tendencies when it comes to the way you make your music. Like you have a very like you have like signatures that it's like like the vinyl crackle at the beginning of every album, for example, is like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like that's how you know you're hearing an Apollo Brown album or an Apollo Brown song. Like just because I'm curious, I don't know that you've ever mentioned this before. Like, when did you decide to do that? Like, when was it like I'm starting every album with a vinyl crackle? Like that's
Well,
like
like no,
I'm
like
putting it in.
so vinyl, just that sound, man, is like one of my favorite sounds ever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like vinyl crackle is just, it's just a great sound. I can sit and listen to that sound by itself.
It's gorgeous.
Um, I just wanted people to feel like they were putting a vinyl on. And even when they were, you know, and at that time, a lot of, you know, selling a lot of CDs, and, you know, even with the digital stuff now, I just kind of want people to have that feeling of, you know, needle dropping, you know, a vinyl, and it just kind of starts up. And even at the end of all the albums, there's the same
Yeah.
type of thing where it almost like the needle falls off the grooves. And, um, you know, that to me, that's just, it's nostalgic. You know, it's old school. On all my albums, you know, as the track fades, the vinyl keeps rolling, just like a regular, you know, there's no, vinyl doesn't fade out, you know, or not vinyl, but the crackle doesn't fade out. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? The crackle keeps rolling even when the songs fade out. Um, that's just something I've always done, man. Something I've always done with every album. And you know, little things like that, like I'm glad you noticed, like the little things like that, you know, supporters definitely notice. And you know, over time and over, you know, a certain amount of albums, they'll be like, oh man, you know, they see these consistencies that I have. And you know, that means a lot to me when you notice that type of stuff. It's little. There's people, a lot of people
Yeah.
that don't notice it. They'd be like, oh, for real, I didn't even understand, I didn't even know that. But you know, when you notice it, man, it's like, all right, I didn't do this for nothing. You know, it's
Yeah.
just those little things that I like, you know.
Like that shit
Yeah.
matters, like
To me,
it's like,
yeah.
like it's clearly like it's clearly there for a reason. And like it's just something that I don't remember exactly when I noticed it, but no, I do. It was on Grandeur, because Grandeur was something that I was just stuck on that album for a while. And like,
Yeah.
and
Word.
like I listened to the beginning and I was just like, damn, he really does this every single time. And I went and like just listened to all of them. I was like, damn, it's there every
Yeah.
time. So I was like,
Yeah.
cool, like that's beautiful. Like it's like I said, it's like a signature for you. Like that's like,
Yeah.
you're like, hey, an Apollo Brown, like again, like how like Spike Lee has like a Spike Lee joint. Like that's like an Apollo Brown shit. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just it. And I love that.
Yeah. When you hear that at the beginning of an album, it's mine, man. That's, and I like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And speaking of your projects, there's I wanted to briefly touch on like a couple of them that are either like personal favorites or just like stuff that I feel like is really important in your catalog. And I think there's no better place to start with that than the Gas Mask album by The Left, which is you
Okay.
and
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Journalist 103 and my
Yep.
homie DJ Soko. Shout out to Eric, love you.
Word.
So just like talk to me about, because like of course like the Reset had come out already, and you had already done like a producer rapper compilation, but this was like the first, like I'm locking in with one rapper and one DJ. So
Yeah.
like,
So, I mean, that album actually was done before Reset. Like,
oh really?
yeah, yeah. We had that album done before we inked the deal for it. So we were just
Okay.
kind of sitting on that album. And actually, I shopped that album to probably 12 different labels who turned it down. Nobody wanted it. They were just like, yeah, we're good. Thanks. We're good. Whatever, whatever. And I don't know. This was at the time, I think this was 2009. So, finally, when I signed my specific deal, Mike over at Mellow Music Group was like, I showed it to him. I was like, yo, I'm sitting on this album called Gas Mask. And it's me and Journalists and Soko, and he was like, yeah, let me hear it. And he heard it and he was like, yo, this is fucking the greatest shit I ever heard in my life, man. What do you want for this? Like, what do you like? I want to put this out. And I was like, all right, cool, man. Cause I'd already shopped it around to a bunch of labels and nobody wanted it. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I found a home for it. Cause at that time I'm like, I'm like, do people just not like this album or what, man? And I'm like, I don't understand. This album is amazing to me. This is like my baby. I'm like, yo, what? Why are people turning this album down? Um, and it's crazy. So I went from that. Now it's online for like $600. So, for the vinyl, and I'm like, it's a little cult following, a little cult, album, whatever. And, but that album, man, when we made that album, we were hungry, man. We were hungry when we made that album. You know what I'm saying? And I think we're all still hungry, and we still show that we're hungry. But at that time, we didn't have anything, so we were just hungry. We were hungry to get to the next level, and make people take notice. And that album was that one right there, man. And so we made it out of that, just out of hunger, man. And we had a great supporting cast. The features on that album were great.
Yeah.
And just the music, the lyrics, everything on that album was amazing. So I still, to this day, hands down, love that album. And it's a cult classic.
Yeah, man. Like I remember the first time I heard the melody and was just like, yeah, this is something special. Like it just feels
Yeah, man.
it's like it's just like a nice little like security blanket type of beat, like that really, it makes me feel so comfy. Like,
Yeah, and Jern did his thing on there, man. Jern was
for
just
real.
like, he killed that whole album. So it was beautiful.
Right. And like that really, and like, of course, like that was like the start of your tenure over at Mello. And like that really, like that was kind of like, I'm like, obviously it was an introduction to you for a lot of people, but then you move on to something like Trophies, the project with O.C.,
Yeah,
which just turned 10 this
yeah,
year, which is like, I
yeah,
can't believe that album's already 10.
yeah,
Like,
man.
so yeah, just like talk to me about working with fucking O.C. on Trophies and like
Oh,
how
that
that
was that
came
was
together.
that was crazy to me, man. Like, always a professional, always done this for a long time. I just remember being in high school, listening to Jules, and Jules is one of my favorite albums of all time. So I was a fan. I'm a fan of everybody I work with. So,
Right.
but being able to work with OC was like, make an album with him, like, oh man. So we got together. Um, when we decided to make the album, man, it was like, I mean, I just remember we got in the studio, and I had an 8-hour block, an 8-hour studio block, and he did 12 songs in 8 hours.
What?
That's crazy to me. 12 songs in 8 hours, and we're not talking about 2-verse songs. We're talking about 3-verse songs.
Yeah, back when that was still
It was
acceptable to
still a
most
thing.
people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
3-verse songs, 12 in 8 hours. I was like mind blown. Um, that was crazy to me, man. I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. And I already booked like 4 8-hour blocks,
Right.
and I'm like, damn. So we went in for another 4 hours the next day and got the rest of it done. And then we didn't even have to use 2 of those blocks. And then we ended up leaving early on 1 block because it was just like we were done. And professional, man. He knew what he knows. He's all business in there. You know what I'm saying? And we play
Right.
afterwards. And that's how I am. I kind of learned that from him as well. Like when I'm in the studio, man, it's all business. You know what I'm saying? Nobody needs to be in the studio that's not, on the record or has nothing to do with what we're doing.
Right.
It's me and the artist. And afterwards, cool. If you want to call your homies and your girl or whatever, afterwards, if you want to go out and go do this, cool, after the studio. But during the studio session, it's not a party, man. Time is money. We're in there working.
Yeah.
Let's get this done. I've been in studio sessions, 8-hour block studio sessions where they get 1 hook done in 8 hours. 1 hook.
That's crazy.
Like I'd be furious, dog. Those weren't my sessions because I don't run sessions like that. But I would be furious. 1 hook done in 8 hours? Come on, dog. Like that's not. Now I didn't expect to get 12 songs done in 8 hours. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was just expecting to maybe get 5 or 6 done. That'd be cool. I'd have been cool with that. 5 songs,
Yeah.
4, whatever. But 12 in an 8-hour block, nuts,
Yeah.
man. But yeah, OC is amazing. He's a legend. Um, top tier lyricist. You know, makes great music, and I mean, he's doing great things to this day. So yeah.
Right. Just like to me, like the sequencing of trophies is just like ridiculous. Like to me, like
Oh man, I love
the
it.
the
Love
three
it.
song stretch from The Pursuit to Prove Me Wrong to Nautica is just like I can't tell you how many times I've listened to those three songs. Just like that could be a whole, just like that's it for me. I just listen to those three songs a lot
Yeah.
sometimes. Like just real smooth.
That's what's
I
up,
love
man.
it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
nah, absolutely. And this is kind of a jump, but I really wanted to touch on this one because I think it might be my favorite thing in your entire discography, and that's Anchovies of Planet Asia, which like
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
really because I was stuck on the new Planet Asia project because I just reviewed it over at Pitchfork, and like I found myself going back to Anchovies just because I was like in that mood, and I was just
Yeah.
like, damn, this is just like it's 5 years old now, and like so yeah, like
Yeah.
talk to me about working with Asia, because I know
Yo.
y'all had that remix project
Yep.
beforehand, but like this is the first like we're doing a whole shit. So what was it like working with Asia?
No, Asia's one of my favorite MCs, period. But one of my favorite MCs over my beats. And you know, he doesn't miss. Asia doesn't miss, man. You know what I'm saying? Like the way he rides a beat, his content, his voice, you know, everything about him as an MC is incredible. And that album, I've always wanted to do a really dirty album with no third party drums, just kind of,
Right.
you know, just really dirty and dingy and grimy. And what better person to do that album with than Planet Asia, man? Like, and so we ended up doing that album. We wanted to call it Anchovies because anchovies are those. So you never go up to ask you never asked a person, hey, do you like anchovies? And they were like, they're okay. No, either they hate anchovies or they love anchovies. That's
Yeah,
it.
like
There's no in
essential to the dish
between.
type shit. Yeah.
There's no in between with anchovies. You either love them or you hate them. There's no, they're okay. And that's the same with this album. We knew that. We knew when we put this album out, there was going to be people that were going to love it or there was going to be people that were going to hate it. And that was the whole idea behind anchovies, man. It was like, you know, and I didn't care about, you know, there wasn't many people that hated it, but you had those people out there that were like, oh, where's the drums? It's not hip hop if there's no drums.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I need drums. Well, you know, I'm just like, yo, I got 20 some other projects that got tons of drums all over it. Why don't you go listen to those? Like, but this project, man, is one of my favorites. And it's something I've always wanted to do, man. And we did it, and it came out spectacular to me. Came out amazing to me, from beginning to end. I could listen to that album and just love it every time, over and over and over, man. And yeah. I mean, we've been talking, so that's all I'll say.
Beautiful. Yeah, you know, like and yeah, like I gotta say, like No Gas, like that's my favorite thing of yours. Like
Or
easy, like
that's
run
what's
it
up.
back, front to back, and just
Well,
like
stay tuned then.
hell yeah, I'm
Stay
ready.
tuned then.
Like the thing that's really interesting to me about it is, of course, like, you know, like minimal to no drums all over it, which I think was a first for you, really.
That was, man. That was like there was no drums. Any drums that were on that album were beefed up out of the sample.
Right.
Any drums that you heard, but I didn't use any third party drums. It was just chops, you know, chops and loops and just, you know, great arrangements, man, and then
Right.
him on the lyrics, man. It made sense, man. It made so much sense to me.
Right. And it's just like, it's really interesting to have that come out when it did, because, you know, like, because like, of course, like Rock Marcy put out Marsburg in 2010, and I feel like that kind of challenged a lot of people's perception, because like he was one of the, not the first, but like he kind of popularized, like, you know, like everybody wants to make music with no drums now.
No drums,
And
yeah.
and you're like, at that point in 2017, it hadn't really caught on the way it has now. You know, like you were like, once again, maybe not the first, but you were one of the most like prominent people to kind of be like, hey, I'm gonna do this shit with no drums. It was like
Yeah.
you and like Ka, basically. You
Yeah,
know,
Kai
like
always does that. Yeah, Kai never
yeah,
uses drums, man. Yeah.
right.
It's
So like,
you know, and
yeah,
I've always had minimal. I love the minimal approach. I love that. You know, that whole minimalistic, just kind of approach to music. And if you listen to all my albums, I have at least one on every album. You know, that has a minimal sound to it, like that, with no drums or very very minimal drums. But yeah, every album has one, definitely.
yeah. I'm, like
I
it's
come from that.
obvious.
I come from that era, man, and I'm cut from that cloth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right,
you know, where just shit was just super grimy, and you know, drums didn't have to be at a certain level. It was just, you know, the music spoke. You know, no matter what.
right. And it's just so crazy because like your drums are like some of the hardest I've ever heard outside of like Metro Boomin type shit,
Word.
you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so
yeah.
so
Word.
it's just like so like to just see you go from that to like stripped all the way back was like, like it caught me by surprise and I'm like, I love this,
Yo,
like
man,
it
it's
just
it's that
works,
it's that DJ
you know?
Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince over here, and
See?
that D.O.C over here, man.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Exactly. Like got it. Yeah, like I'm big on a having like a balanced diet when it comes to rap. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll make a I'll make a a Raheem Devon album on this side, and then
Yeah,
followed up that same year with with an Anchovies type album, man. Like I
right.
love that. I love doing that, man, and just kind of showcasing what you can do, and you know, giving everyone something. You
Right.
know, yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on Lovesick, but before we get to Lovesick, I wanted to talk about Sincerely Detroit because
Or
you've done compilation albums before, but of course like the mission statement behind that one is like all Detroit artists and
all
like
Detroit artists, man.
across generations.
Yep.
So like obviously massive, massive, massive undertaking. So
Oh yeah.
like talk to me about putting Sincerely Detroit together and like what it meant to kind of have all these people on this one album that you produced.
Yeah, I mean, obviously doing something like that is not easy, man. So, I got 56 artists on one album, and not
That's
just
crazy.
56 artists, but 56 Detroit artists on one album. And we're talking about, like you said, different generations, different genres type, within hip hop. You got street, you got backpack, you got this artist that doesn't like this artist, so you want to make sure they're not on the same song together. You got so you got to deal with the beefs and all that stuff. um you just kind of got to deal with oh man, I'm still waiting. It's a lot of wait time when you're waiting on MCs, in any type of project. But once you get it, it's all worth it, and it's beautiful, man. But that was something I wanted to do, man. I kind of wanted to showcase home. I wanted to showcase Detroit. I wanted to, Detroit, I always say, has some of the best producers and MCs, artists, period, in this
Yeah, come
world.
on.
So I wanted to showcase MCs. I wanted to showcase singers. I wanted to showcase DJs, all over my interpretation of Detroit sound. So I never ever claimed to have a Detroit sound. I don't think that, when you listen to my music, it's not really the Detroit sound. It's more of an East Coast boom bap sound. But
Definitely.
so if you go to, no, depends on who you go to throughout the city, and you ask them what a Detroit sound is, they'll have different, everyone will say something different. So I don't really consider my sound a Detroit sound. I consider that album my interpretation of what Detroit sounds like. So just putting that together, man, and getting it done was just like, that was a major feat. And I don't know if it'll ever be done again in that way or whatever, but that was something that, I really am proud of. And especially the way it came out and the way it sounds, the quality of that album. They all stepped up, and they knew they were on a track with somebody, and they were like, yo, I gotta outshine, or I gotta try to shine. And everybody shined. Everybody did their thing. Nobody was lagging. And we really represented the city of Detroit. And that's what it was. It was basically a gift to the world, wrapped up and signed sincerely Detroit. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it was. That's the whole thing. Just showcasing the city.
Right. Yeah, like it's just so beautiful to see people like, you know, having Guilty Simpson and Fat Ray on a song together, and then following that with like on with a group like Clear Soul Forces.
Yeah.
Like that Clear Soul Forces song is so crazy. Like shout out to all of them. Those are
Yeah. Oh yeah,
those are the
yeah. It was
homies. They're
beautiful. I
good
love that
people.
joint. Love that
Yeah,
joint.
just like, you know, like it's just so much history. And just like once again, the fact that you
Oh man,
managed to
lots of
put all
history.
of that together, like it's just crazy, you know, just like
It
it
was hard.
like I get exhausted just thinking about the amount of people that are on that album, you know, like it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. It was hard to do, man. It's one of those things that, you know, you got to really, you got to be ready for it mentally when you do it. You know,
Right.
you got to really, you know, it's a lot of work.
Absolutely. And then and then the last thing I wanted to touch on before we briefly hit on This Must Be the Place was Lovesick, because of course, like big shift for you, your first album done with a singer instead of a
Yeah,
rapper.
yeah.
Why was then, because it's been what, a year or 2 years, was it 2020 or
It was two.
2021?
Yeah, it's been 2 years now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So why I mean, yeah, why Raheem Devon? I know y'all have worked together a bunch, but like why
Yeah.
why was it now? Why was now the right, or why was then rather the right time to make a whole album with a singer, and why Raheem Devon?
Man, that was an album that we've been working on for a long time. Um, I've always wanted, and I'm checking off all these boxes, man. These things that I've always wanted to do in my
Right.
career, man. And one was to make a soul album. You know what I'm saying? I've always wanted to make an R&B soul album. I knew I had the chops for it. I knew I could do it. And um, I mean, what better person than Raheem Devon? I'm a huge fan. Um, the Love Experience is probably my favorite R&B album of all time. So I was like, yo, man, that we've already worked together. We kind of run in the same circles. Raheem is a hip hop head, so
Yeah.
he's all about it. He's a fan. I'm a fan. Let's get together. Let's make this album. We made this album, got done with it, and when we got done with it, man, I just sat and listened to it. Like, yo, this is incredible, man. And I couldn't believe that I'm like, yo, I did this. Like, I made these tracks. I did some love making type stuff, man. And I was like, yo, somebody's gonna conceive something in one of my tracks, man. That's cool. That's dope. So you know, yeah, we put it together, and when we put the album out, I was very apologetic when I put the album out. And I shouldn't have been before we put the album out. I'm, you know, because my fans are, I was very worried because my fans are diehard 24/7 hip hop fans.
Yeah.
And I was really worried that if I were to put out something that was less than or wasn't hip hop, um, that, you know, I would be alienating them and they would leave me and say, we're not listening to Apollo Brown anymore. He changed. He went over to R&B. And it's like, nah, it's still Apollo Brown. It just has a little more. It's like, come on, we're not always hip hop, rah rah, everything. Sometimes we got to slow it down, man. We're with our females or we're with our significant other, and you know, sometimes we want to slow it down and just chill, man. And
Yeah.
that's what that was. And you know what? The support was crazy. The reaction to the album was crazy. All my 24/7 hip hop supporters supported it, and they were like, "Yo, this is nuts, man. We love it. You know, we love what you did here." And I couldn't ask for a better response for the album, man. And you know, I was super worried when I put it out. I'm like, man, I don't want to alienate my fans and my supporters, man. So my day ones, and I don't want them to think I'm changing on them. I don't want them to think that I'm, you know, switching it up to gain a whole nother fan base, which I did gain a whole nother fan base, but I wasn't trying to switch
Hey.
it up for that, you know. And
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it came out amazing. You know, no regrets whatsoever. I would love to do it again sometime down the road, you know. And you know, one of these times, like I would love to do something with like Duel or man, I would love to do something with Chico DeBarge,
Hey,
you
man.
know, stuff like that, man. Like I'm all
Wow.
about that. So um there's a couple other artists that are on my radar, man, when it comes to that too. So
Right.
but yeah, that was a good album to make. I'm glad I did.
Yeah, I'm happy you did too. And like, like there's a like there's always been an appetite and like a precedent for like rap producers making R&B stuff. Like Ninth Wonders worked with Mary J.
Yep.
Like Knowledge and Anderson .Paak have No Worries.
Yep.
Like, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. So like it's
Great
just like,
album.
yeah,
Absolutely.
really, really good. Like it's just like, like there's always going to be an appetite for that sort of stuff. And I'm happy that I'm happy that y'all went with your gut instincts to like make
Yeah.
something like that. Cause like when I saw the announcement, I was like, huh, it's about time. Like that was my first thought. Like it's about time he did
Yeah.
something like this,
Yeah. Word.
like it. And you listen to it and it's not like the beats are appreciably different from the stuff you've done. Like, like the structure is still there. It still's like
Yeah.
you could put a rapper over most of those beats and they'd
Yeah.
probably be able
Yeah.
to do
And that's
stuff with
that's
it,
kind of what, following the whole like 411 Mary J. Blige, thing where, you're singing over hip hop style beats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like it's like so like you like I said, I'm happy you followed. I'm happy you went with your gut and made something and people liked it anyway. So,
No doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
shout out
Appreciate
to
it.
that. Of course. So, This Must Be the Place has been out for about a couple of weeks at this point.
Yeah.
And
Yep. Yep.
like this is your fourth instrumental tape. And if I had to pick it, like I would say this is probably like the warmest beat tape I've ever heard you make. Like this, like the whole thing sounds like spring and summer to me. And
It's
like your
it's
music,
it's very hopeful, man. Very hopeful, instrumental, man.
yeah,
It's kind of one of those things where, like the album title, This Must Be the Place. I'm not really talking about a specific place. I'm talking about, when you catch yourself saying to yourself, man, I can't wait till I get to that place in my life where or that place in my life where, ah, you know, that's what I'm talking about. It's more of a moment. It's more of I'm at a place in my life where I'm completely content. I have a beautiful wife. I have amazing kids. Um, I have a whole family that supports me and loves me. I have, my house and my cars and my health and um, I have a career that I absolutely love, and I'm grateful for every day. And I'm at a place in my life where I'm just completely content and I'm happy. And that's kind of where the title comes on. This must be the place. Okay, this
right,
must be the place that I was talking about. I wanted to be at. This must be the place. You look around and you be like, okay, all right. And so that's what the album is about. And it's more about creating a backdrop, for people to live their lives to. When you think about background music, I invite people to call this background music. But when you think about that term, and if you were to call somebody's music background music, they'd probably get offended. They probably like, background music. My music ain't background music. You
right,
know what? But not realizing that background music is some of the best music out there. It's music that kind of controls your subconscious. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
it's music that, like a score
It's the
in a
movie score,
movie.
exactly. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It controls your feelings. It controls your emotions.
it
Even when you're
soundtracks your
not,
life.
yeah.
Like
And even when you're not like, intently listening to it, it's just in the background, but you're not knowing that it's messing with you. The music behind you is messing with you. So I'm okay with background music. I tell people, yo, put this album on and go about your life. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you're fixing your car, if you're cleaning your house, if you're sitting at a coffee shop, drinking tea or whatever, coffee, if you're raking your yard, doing yard work. I don't care what you're doing a long road trip, whatever. Just put the music on, put the album on, and go about your life. You don't have to like specifically like deliberately listen to every track or listen to this or that or whatever. Nah, just let it be your backdrop. Let it be your background music, and you'll get it. You'll get what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
that's why I made it. It's the music is very, very hopeful. Um, somebody called it melancholy, but I don't think it's melancholy. I think it's
Yeah.
just more, I think it's just more hopeful music. It's just something that, it helps you look forward to something. I want to make music that either makes you remember something or makes you forget something. It takes you places. So that's what it is, man. And I enjoyed this album. I listen to it myself every time I'm doing something. And that's not even just being biased. That's the music I'm on right now. That's what I'm listening to. And I love it, man. It's one of my favorite albums I've ever made.
Man, it's a real solid listen. And like one thing I always love about your beat tapes is that like there's always a couple of beats on them that first appeared on other albums. Like there's I think
Yeah.
Pipe Dreams on here was on the Stali album,
Yep. And I did that
that was
because,
cool.
so I did that because another, aspect of this album is, another crazy thing about it is I didn't sample anything for this album. This is
I didn't think
all,
so.
it's not traditional sampling that I would normally do, record dropping, needle dropping, digging, whatever. This album was completely used with sound design. So, enlisting sound designers and their catalogs, and amazing musicians and instrumentalists to make this record. And I did the same thing. I started dabbling with sound design when we made the Raheem DeVaughn album.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a couple tracks from the Raheem DeVaughn album, a track from the Shay Noor album, a couple tracks from the Stally album that I put on This Must Be the Place as bonus tracks. They're just bonus tracks that I put on there because they were also made with sound design, and I wanted all that grouped together. I wanted it all grouped together on one album.
Okay.
So yeah. And so, but I labeled them as even though they were on other albums, they were just bonus tracks on this album, so people can hear them as instrumentals. I know there's a lot of people that wanted to hear those tracks as just instrumentals, and there they have it.
Yeah, I just thought that was a nice touch, like I just kind of heard a couple and I was like, wait a minute, I've heard this before.
Yeah.
And yeah, you mentioned Shay Noir. I just wanted to shout her out because I think she's dope and I loved As God Intended.
Word, yeah, she's an amazing MC, man.
She's
amazing
so
artist.
Crazy, bro.
Yeah,
like that storytelling song where she's telling the story about like shooting her man.
Yep.
Like, oh man, that's that. Yeah. Like I remember where I was the first time I heard that song. Like
she keep you hanging on, man. She's dope. She's super dope.
Yeah, it was Blood is Thicker. There we go.
Yep.
That song is just so crazy. Just had to put that out there. So you've had a pretty remarkable career. You've been so prolific. Like I said at the beginning, you've dropped over a dozen collaborative albums alone, and that's not even counting.
Man, I'm on number 31.
See, that's not even counting. That's not even
my
counting,
next album that I'm putting out, man, is gonna be number 31. My 31,
wow.
my 31st title.
So that's like a combination of collaborative albums and like the groups like Ugly Heroes and the Left, like also like shout out to Verbal Kent and Chris Oric from Ugly Heroes, because like the Ugly Heroes albums are fucking crazy too. So just like you've done a lot over the course of like 15, maybe even pushing 20 years at this point. And you're and like this and like when you first started, like your sound had an audience, but like I feel like we're at a point now where there's more of an appetite for the type of music you make. Like you were kind of like working against the grain a bit when you first started, and now there's even more space for the type of music you make than ever. So I guess I was just curious before we wrap this up, like how does it feel to kind of go from a point where you're kind of working or like not like working against the grain, but just like kind of like you're kind of working from like a smaller circle to like just kind of have it just like now you kind of have more space to make an R&B album, put out a beat tape, and have people come looking for the instrumentals from their favorite projects of yours. Like, how does it feel to look back and kind of see how far you've traveled and how much more, I guess, for lack of a better word, accepted, like the type of music you make is.
Well, I think that's what happens when you are consistent.
Yeah.
I think consistency plays a huge role in people looking for the music that I make or the albums that I put out. I'd like to say that I feel like I'm probably the most consistent producer over the last decade. I'm consistent. You know what you're gonna get from me. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, you know what you're gonna get from me. Whatever the sound may be. And I had one guy, he was like, if I were to describe you in one word, I would describe you as reliable. And I was just like,
That's it.
I was blown away with that. I was like, and most people would be like, okay, that's cool. No, for me, I took that compliment as like I wanted to shed tears over that compliment, bro. I was like, yo, that's crazy to me. That like reliable is such a strong word. When you call someone reliable, especially in music, it's like saying, doesn't matter what you put out, doesn't matter what you do, I'm buying it. Doesn't matter. I don't care if your name's on it. I'm there because you're so reliable. You get me through whatever I need to get through, whatever I'm looking for at the time. You got it. You are just everything you put out. I'm never disappointed. That type of shit. It was just like, yo, reliable. So reliability and consistency, I think that plays huge factors in where I was then and where I'm at now. And having a fan base that I had to build up versus a fan base that's there every time I put something out now, and not having to worry about trying to gain fans, which I do, but it's not something I worry about. Like back in the day where I was going against the grain, like you said, trying to fight my way up with all this other types of music and people gravitating towards other things and looking at my historical boom bap music as something that's old or all that's, but now you have a whole group of people who are just like, yo, I yearn for that. I need that. You know what I'm saying? All this shit that's out now is like, nah, this ain't it. I need that boom bap. So,
Right.
and I'm glad I can still make it.
Yeah, and that and like people still want it, and like more people want it now than they did 10 years ago. Like it's just like, like just to like see that sea change, and like not even just to have it be like, because like there's all different sectors to like this type of music. Like there's like regular boom bap. There's like more like the loopless stuff, like the Rock Marciano and Anchovy shit. There's like like it's like there's so many different permutations of it, and like people just want that. And like I'm happy you brought up the thing about reliability. I wrote a piece about something similar, like kind of like that phenomenon for DJ booth. It must have been in 18, 19, and it's just like just like that idea of like reliability and like predictability, but in like a good way. Like people who just like establish. They like establish a sound. They know the type of music they want to make, and they continue to make it. And like the combination of confidence and just like quality music making just like makes it something that it's like 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 I was saying before, it's like comfort. Like there's like kind of like with you with like your 4 favorite movies that like if they're on TV you'll watch them whenever. Like it's just like what you're getting, and you get it and you enjoy it, and that's it. Like and like kind of like take it as it is, like what like you can have like like people like you might have your critiques, but it's like it works for the way it works, and that's cool. Like I love stuff like that, and like it's really hard to get to a point where you're making stuff like that and like it's consistently good, because there's like a difference between being consistent and like making music that's worth listening to, because not everybody who drops 3 times a year is making music it's worth listening to.
That's true.
You
No,
know,
that's very
like,
true. Very true.
So you know, like you've earned it. I mean, like, you don't need me to tell you that, but like you know,
I
like
know,
you've
but I
really,
always appreciate it. Always
yeah,
appreciate it.
definitely. You know, it's just like I just think that aspect of listening to music is super important. Just like being consistent and making good shit is like hard to do. So we always got to salute the people who do it, you know.
It's all about quality, man. Quality over quantity.
Yes, sir. And to officially wrap this up, my last question for you. If your life was a movie, what would it be about, Apollo Brown?
My life was a movie. What would it be about? Oh man. God, my life, my movie would be boring as hell, man.
That's okay.
It would be super boring because I lead a super boring life, man. Just like I'm so, you know, I'm a dad. I'm a husband, and I build things and I go grocery shopping, and it'd be like the Truman Show, you know, it'd just be everyday life, man, and just oh man. I don't know, man. I guess it would just be about it would probably be a comedic drama about a dad and his crazy kids and his funny ass wife, and you know, he just so happens to be a superhero producer that kind of dips down into the basement every now and then, and the rest of the family wonders where he goes. And then all of a sudden he comes back out and he's a whole different person because he looks like Apollo Brown now, and he has a hoodie on with a fitted cap. And I don't know, man. My I'm just going off of the dome, man. But I really, my movie would be super boring, bro. It would just be about a dad and his family, you know, and because that's just my everyday life, bro. I don't do anything. You know, I tell people all the time, it's funny. It's like, I don't even feel like I'm in the industry anymore. I kind of just contribute to it. You know, I don't do industry things. I don't hang out with industry people anymore. I don't go to industry parties, shows. I go to shows every now and then, but it's kind of like I just contribute to it when it's my turn. And then when I'm done contributing, I come back to my everyday regular life. And, you know, it's just, yeah. So my movie would not be fun to watch, bro. It would be boring.
Hey,
It'd be
man.
like daddy daycare. So
slice of life shit is cool. Like your movie would be a slice of life, and that's fine.
That's basically what it would be too. That's exactly what it'd be.
I fuck with that. That's fine. You know, like you know, like
it'd be a movie you watch and relate to when you're older. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like, oh, okay, that's what he was talking about. All right.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm not mad at that at all. I think
it's the life I prefer, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's the life I prefer to live. You know, I've done all that other stuff. I'm not, you know, I'm cool without it.
Yeah, man, I feel you. That's beautiful. I love that. Well, I don't have any more questions for you, but man, Apollo, thank you so much, man. Like,
hey, man, I appreciate you having me, man. This was dope. It was dope.
Man,
I enjoyed this.
I'm happy, especially, you know, like especially since like, you know, like movies are something that I feel like connect with everyone regardless of how, like, you know, like movies and music are things that everybody connects to regardless of how like deep into it you are. Yeah. So I just love to pick people's brain about this type of stuff, and just like,
it's a universal, they're both universal language, man. So yeah, without a doubt. And go watch that movie Duel, man. Go watch Duel.
I promise I will. I promise I will.
I want you to hit me and let me know how it was, how you felt about it.
I absolutely will. Like, I'm gonna
try. Don't go into it expecting any acting or dialogue or anything like that.
That's fine.
You gotta love it for what it is, man. You gotta love it for what it is. A 1971
man.
Steven Spielberg film about a man on a highway getting chased and terrorized by a semi truck.
Gotcha.
That's it. There it is.
That sounds great to me. Nah, like, I'm with it. Like, nah, I promise I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna do something with it. thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.